Okay, welcome back to the Native American Ultimate Decades Challenge. I hope you enjoyed the first episode, day one of 1300. Now, in the Ultimate Decades Challenge, um, years go by pretty quickly because, we have hundreds and hundreds of years to get through. So, in the Ultimate Decades Challenge, every 4 days is a new year. So, day one of each year is technically whatever happens between January, February, and March. Day two is the second quarter. Day three is the second quarter. Day three is the third quarter. Ooh, ooh. And day four is the fourth quarter, and then it'll be 1301. Okay. So, so I figured I would explain a little bit of the Decades Challenge just in case some of you are new to it and have never played. There's a whole spreadsheet that you can get from Zombie Cleo or Morbid Gamer. Morbid Gamers is pretty, it's chock full of information. Yeah, so I have my spreadsheet right here in front of me. And I hope I can keep track and play at the same time. So yeah, the info chart will have, the sim day, the number of sim days, the year, who was born on this day, who's a toddler this day, who's a child, teen, young adult, elder on what day. Then there's also an info chart where it lists everybody in your family, dead and alive. It has it's basically like a full family tree. And so with custom years, you're going to have custom aging. So aging your Sims has to align with time in this challenge. And it's going to be very different. So aging is turned off, and you have to manually track your own Sims because 4 days equals 12 months equals 1 year. Okay. So, thankfully, the spreadsheet has all this information on it, so you can help yourself keep track. So when a sim gets pregnant, they're pregnant for 3 days. A baby is born at 0 days. Then they are a baby for 1 day, and they age up at 3 months. Okay, so and then they're an infant for 5 days, and they age up at 1.5 years, or 1.5. They're a toddler for 18 days, and then they age up to a child at 6 years old. They're a child for 28 days, and they age up to a teen at 13 years old. And they are a teen for 28 days, and they age up to a young adult at 20 years old. Okay, and so on and so on. But you're a young adult for 40 days. You age up to an adult at 30. If you make it that far, congratulations. As I said before, there's a lot of death. A lot of babies and children don't make it, but usually once you make it to the teenage, you're fine. Well, if you're a guy. If you're a girl, you get an extra mark against you because you're having kids, and having kids kill you. So anyway, as a young adult, you're a young adult for 40 days. You age up to an adult at 30. You're an adult for 80 days, and you age up to an elder at 50 years old. And once you reach an elder, you roll for how much time you have left. If you're lucky, though, the longest you can be an elder is also 80 days, and they die at 70 years old. So yeah, So a lot of other people do this on camera. They roll the dice. There's a D20 roller. Um, and you roll the dice. And if you get said number, then you live or you die. They do death rolls basically for every birthday, and whenever someone gives birth, or if there's like a war or something like that. Um, so you roll to see how long your Sims will survive and continue to live for. They can die giving birth as babies, teens, or live long and happy lives, but it all comes down to the dice roll. Um, Once you have a Sim pregnant and they give birth, you have to roll to see if the mother makes it through labor. When a baby is born, you have to roll to see if they even survive the birthing process. If they do, they're a baby for one day and then they roll again. So before every new age stage, you must roll to see if your Sim survive in order to continue. Um, so yeah, here are the death rolls. So if the mother gives birth and she rolls a 1, she doesn't make it. If the babies are born and you roll a 1, 5, 7, 10, 15, or 20, sorry, rest in peace. For infants, if you roll a 12, 16, 18, or 20, rest in peace. Toddlers, if you roll a 4, 8, or 12, rest in peace. Child, if you roll a 9 or a 19, rest in peace. Teen, if you roll a 7, rest in peace. So yeah, the odds get better once you get to a teen, and then once you're like childbearing age, it kind of goes in reverse and goes backwards or whatever. Yeah, women have that added risk of having kids, and men, they have the added risk of protecting the house, going to war, or just getting sick and stuff like that. If you have a young adult and they roll a 2, 6, 11, 13, or 14, rest in peace. Once you roll to be an adult, if you roll a 2, 6, 9, 12, 15, 17, or 19, Jesus, rest in peace. Okay, because I think by the time you're an adult, by the time you're 30, you've been through some stuff, you've had kids, yeah. And then once you get to an elder, you roll a d20 for end of life. And I'm guessing here it says, so if you roll a 9 and above, so 9 through 20, I'm guessing, rest in peace. If you roll anything under a 9, you're good. And then you roll a d20 to see how many years you have left. So yeah. There's pregnancy chances. Teens have a 30% chance of having a baby. Young adults have 25, adults 20. Adult part 2. I don't know what that means. That's weird. I guess older adults, if you have a lot of baby tries, I guess. 10%, and then elders, we're not even going to try because they're not going to make it. They're not going to do it. Not back then anyway. Now it's different for side households. If you roll a 1 through 5, that gives you the number of pregnancies. If you roll a 6, that side household has no children, and I guess you just wait for them to die out. So when you start the challenge, you have founder Sims. You pick a last name for the family. You must always produce a male heir. I think I'm going to do it different, though. I'm still thinking about it. I think whoever's the eldest gets to do it. I don't know. I'm still thinking about it. And if that's the case, our little Hiawatha will be chiefess after Wapi. If that's the case, your next heir will continue your main lineage. If your Sims fail to produce an heir, then the lineage can then continue with the eldest daughter's husband or the eldest daughter or whatever. In my case, if your prospect heir dies, then you move on to the next person in line. If everyone in the main family dies, if that dice roll does not like you and they all die, and there's no one to take up the mantle, then you move on to the next closest related side household to your house. So I selected Cayuga and Mohawk as the main household. In case something happens to them, then thankfully, I guess this is a good reason to have all your side households in the house with you. Because it's easier to keep track, I guess. Oh, the sink is broken. Then we'll go with Wapi and whoever he decides to marry. Yeah, for side households, you can choose to never see them again. Not in my case because they're all in the same house, or you can choose, to continue to follow that family lineage. Choice is yours. Side households come in handy with all these death rolls and stuff like that. So once your main heir is old enough to get married, then you officially pass along the torch to the next generation. So once Hiawatha or Mohawk get married, maybe Chief Wapi will be an elder by then if he makes it. Who knows? So yeah, I'm doing these things a little differently, but I'm reading the rules. So yeah. So when you start, you can start with either a teen or a young adult sim. It could be a single sim or two married sims. Not me. I decided to do it the hard way and have a buttload of sims in my house. Your sims must start as peasants. Peasants, I don't think that really existed in Native Americans. They used beads and shells to like trade stuff, or just wool, food, stuff like that. So as long as you have those things, that means you're abundant and you're good. So, let me see. You can't have careers. You can't have any famous sims. To make money and sustain your sims, you can grow produce, fish, paint, woodwork, make candles, knit, have cows, chickens, and hens, cross stitch. When harvesting crops, you can only do so once every season at the end of every season. Keep in mind to only eat foods available at the time. So they say to use Ye Old Cookbook mod. I'm waiting for that mod to update because I'm afraid to put it in my game if it's not. Let me see. Usually once you move out, once your female sims get married, they move out, but the Native Americans did it the other way around. So when your female sims get married, they stay. When your male sims get married, they leave and go with the wife's family because we're doing things matrilineally. Okay. So that's that on that. I hope I explained it. I'll put a link to like the Google Docs sheet. Morbid Gamer also has a video on YouTube. She actually played for a good while. She played her own challenge. So that was fun to watch because that's how I learned how to play from watching hers.
Okay, so my bad. This is just an introduction to the challenge. So we'll actually start day 2 in the next video. Please like, subscribe, leave comments on what you think about how I'm playing or whatever. More comments get me seen by the community and basically everybody. So yeah, I hope to see you next Monday or sometime um, before or after that. Okay, signing off. Bye bye.